Good evening. Ira Epstein with your financial market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for Tuesday, the 26th of April, 2022. Interesting day. So in the evening, we've now heard that Russia is shutting off natural gas to Poland and Belarus. Bye-bye, guys. You're not going to get it. They're demanding payment through the Gazprom Bank and other events. They're picking a fight with the UK now, saying that one of the ministers in the UK has gone overboard in accusing certain things and trying to overthrow the Russian government with his statements, and they'll do something in kind, whatever that might mean. They're also, again, blaming the United States and saying we're pushing them into nuclear war. Have you ever heard anything so crazy? It reminds me of the Chinese right now. The Chinese tell you how great their vaccines are. I'm writing a report tonight, and the graph says it all. They claim, China, that 88% of those that can be vaccinated are, and yet they're sitting there with shut-ins. In Shanghai, now about Beijing, other cities have done it. Here's what that means. I mean, this stuff you can read through. You don't need a big IQ. It doesn't work. The war in the Ukraine is all Russia's doing. It's very easy. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's not my fault. We're liberating. We're taking those that want to be Russians with us. The Chinese, no. Our policy is we only use vaccines we make. Well, let me tell you about that. That reminds me of the 60s when you wouldn't touch anything made in China or, for that matter, Japan at that point. I mean, you just got to laugh about it, and that's all that you can do. Now, tomorrow we start a two-day meeting for the Bank of Japan. The market is getting something of a short rally. I think it's just traders covering this position. The bank is really not expected to do anything. They're probably going to try to hold the line, but what if they don't? I just read some 89% of the analysts surveyed by Bloomberg think the bank will just sit still. So you can see what happens, and yet you're getting a rally, so probably short covering. You've had a round of short covering in the bonds and notes, but you're getting to the 18-day averages where resistance should show up. So in the S&P, here we are. Tomorrow's the 27th. I think it's pretty safe to say you're going to have a losing month of April. It will take something very radical for that to change. Could it happen? Of course it could happen, but I don't expect it to. So that, I repeat, will be the sixth time in 26 years now that April has not been a winning month. And it'll be the first time in 16 years in a row that April wasn't a winning month in the futures in the S&P for the lead month in the month of April. Okay. You haven't had a buy signal if you've been following my studies, and I'm the guy that wrote a report pointing all the bullishness out, never pulled the trigger, haven't had the opportunity. And that's the beauty. You know, seasonals are one thing, and you've heard me say that so often. Seasonals are based on past history. You trade charts based on current history. There is a difference, and you take that into account. You're in a full-fledged downtrend. You get an idea now. There's a warning sign on the chart that this could change. If today's high of 43.0375 is taken out on Wednesday or Thursday, the odds are very strong this was a blow-off area and that the market's ready to pop. And the pop area would come where the moving averages come in about 100 points higher or wherever that 18-day average is. That's all that it is. If it occurs. You understand? I'm not predicting it'll occur. If it occurs. Right now, the trend is down. The market's getting into an area of support. You're fighting the Bollinger Band. Now, you could also go into what we call the Gorilla Glue. You know why I call it Gorilla Glue? You go to the hardware store. I do this all the time. And I look for certain glues, like I needed just recently one that wasn't that thin layer glue, but more of the jelly, right? So I bought the Gorilla Glue because my wife had something that fell off and she wanted me to glue it for her. It's the strongest stuff there is. Well, that's what happens. You start riding this and it's strong as can be. Could I get stronger glues if I went to industrial strength somewhere? Probably, but they're not going to sell that to me at Home Depot. So that's the one that you look at, and that's what you've got going there. Are we embedded? Well, this is where the market has to make some serious decisions. If you look at both numbers here on Monday, that's just 2 days ago, yesterday. Remember, I say 2 days because we're already trading on Wednesday. Both numbers were not under 20. They were under 20 today, Tuesday, and starting off for Wednesday, they're both under 20. You're just oversold, running Bollinger Band, and I'll stick with what I told you if today's high is taken out. The NASDAQ is embedded, a very different beast here. Until you lose the embedded reading, again, I think the pros will be aggressive on sales. I think they will have to be careful if you get over this 13,584.50, because that's the high of an outside day down, and often means you're going to make a run to the 18-day average or the closest main moving average if that's hit. You're not there. So I think between here and rallies, the pros are going to sell that market. I don't think they'll do so in the micro mini Dow. You're oversold, similar to the S&P, just running the S&P. All of these markets, though, had an outside day down. So to an index, if today's high was taken out, Tuesday's high, start looking for a run to the 18-day average. Barring that, to me, the strongest bearish market, strong in terms of diving down, the strength of the break, is the NASDAQ still. In the VIX cash, you're 3 days in a row over the upper Bollinger Band. A lot of strength in this market. There's a big but, though. The but to me is that the market number one's not on a breakout. If you take a look at yesterday, instead of getting another day where you close in the top part like you did on the first day out of it, you didn't. You closed near the day's low. So you've got 3 days or 2 days in a row under the Bollinger Band. I'll let somebody else want to own that. I don't. In the T-bond market, when you lose an embedded reading, I teach this in my enhanced Bollinger Band course, you lose that, you're often going to make a run once you've been down to these Bollinger Bands to that 18-day average. And that's the neutral zone. Could you get bullish here? Of course you could. But are you? Not yet. 10-year note, identical. So these are ways that you learn that if you're in the bear part of the market, what do you look at from time to time to say, gee, I don't see anything else. This chart looks terribly bearish. You start learning how to work with these other tools that I'm giving you. Now, as I told you, I am hard at work trying to get my time free. I'm hoping tomorrow to begin recording my outside day up or down course. And I think you're going to get another tool that nobody else shows the way that I do. I see this over and over on the charts, and it's fun to play with. And there's ways, I'll give you all the little secrets that I've used over the years of looking at it. And that'll be very soon. Look for a May release. I am determined it's a May release. I thought I'd get it in February or March. Life just didn't work that way. Okay, so we're at a resistance point here. Dollar index, bullish as can be. You keep coming down, offering buys during the whole time it's embedded. You're looking to buy it, and each time you hit the Bollinger Band, so long 50% of the position, and then you play the game on the breaks again until you lose the chart pattern. In the euro, you went down to the Bollinger Band, so today was a short covering day. All right, the market has had an embedded reading. Now, it's interesting what it did. This day didn't lose the embedded reading. It was lost right here. And bingo, you can see how it just came back, and that's where it came out of the market. All right, not much you can do there with it. I think a lot of traders are just bewildered by how low it is. I look at it this way. If I had my wherewithal, I'm going to Europe. I just came back from, unfortunately, a great trip with my son. I'm not going to Europe at this point. I have my trip planned for the summer already, and it's in the States, and that's it. Next year, maybe late fall, who the heck knows? I love Europe. I can't wait to go back. British pound market just pointing itself to the downside, embedding breakout territory. Now, this is what you always worry about. Two moves in the bottom part, you closed under those lower quadrants. People say it's overdone, and I say it's a fresh sign of a breakout. Boom. And that's what these things do. Now you can start climbing into the Bollinger Band, and you wait to see if you embed, and then you got a new game to go with that's even more bearish, all right? So nothing friendly there. Bitcoin, I'm waiting to make the switch out of April into the next month, but there's nothing bullish on this chart. To tell you right now that the market's ready to pop back to the upside, you have an outside day down today. You don't want to take today's high out tomorrow. In the differential between Brent and WTI, it just keeps shrinking away. Now, this gets interesting because what's Russia going to do with all this fuel that they're not going to be selling to Europe? Now, remember, they're cutting off natural gas. I read nothing that they're cutting off crude oil. Just the nat gas to Poland, Belarus. Who else they'll do to? I couldn't begin to tell you. I don't know what's on their mind. But China doesn't need it right now. They've got their own problems with their economy. Today, President Xi said, okay, we're going to throw more money at infrastructure because we got to get ourselves going. Well, listen, Mr. Xi, what you got to do first is bring in American vaccines or European vaccines that work to help your people. This idea that everything's going to be Chinese is wonderful as you're killing your people. Doesn't make sense. In the Brent oil, market coming down, back into the resistance right here. What do you think? Well, now the question is, if you look at the weekly charts, does it make sense to be selling this break? I covered that in my subscriber video in the morning. I've been showing the differential between this, and I'm not going to share that with you. Pay for my research, you get to see it. What are you doing right here? Neutral. Now you're getting the WTI a little stronger on the chart than the Brent. And here, you came back for a new high on this move in the heating oil, and it's on the verge of doing what? Let's take a look. Is it ready to embed? Both numbers Monday were over 80. If I go to Friday, they were not. Monday they were, today they were, tomorrow could set up again that bullishness. So heating oil could be getting itself ready to heat up. How's that? And get yourself to some new highs in the marketplace. Let's see if I can get to nat gas. And as you know, I switched over to June. You can see it found its support right where I thought it would. It's kept the pattern of higher lows, higher highs. And if momentum can follow through right here, you're going to look for a base. Maybe you go for those highs again. Very, very possible. What would change the picture is taking out the lows of Monday. That is the number I don't want to see taken out. Barring that, I'm friendly. So, you know, I sit here and I explain to you when you run these Bollinger Bands and you get these embedded readings how to play them. Do you know how to do that? Because this is what you call the dream shots. If you don't, please take a look at this. Welcome. I'm Ira Epstein, and I'm here to talk about my enhanced Bollinger Band course. Now, many of you have taken my regular charting course, and if not, you might think you know something about Bollinger Bands. As you know, Bollinger Bands are an algorithm designed to keep the market trading within it 95% of the time, and on a chart, it will offer on the top part resistance, on the bottom support, and the idea is the market will travel within them. We know that sometimes it latches onto that band, goes up or goes down. Well, how do you play with that? Can you pyramid the positions off that type of thinking? Well, I've applied all three of these into 13 different videos that teach you my concept of it. And from that concept, you're able to work with weekly charts and or daily charts. The 13 videos, each about 7 minutes long. The idea here is not to put you in school forever, but to teach. Now, if you haven't tried my complete futures research, I throw that in as well. Whether you've tried this or not, I think it's worth taking a look at. I think you're going to learn something from there. That research, by the way, covers twice daily market updates for you and access to what I call window envelope numbers, which I think are very important when looking at these Bollinger Bands. The next part is a trial to our charting software so you can make your charts look the same way that mine do. It's that simple. Where do you go with it and how do you get all this? It's simple. You go to our website, www.iraepstein.com. If you go to the word education, everything you need is answered there. You can also call my staff. They'll be happy to help you get set up. I'm Ira Epstein on the road to your education.